My name is Callie Ng.
So my name is Mohammed. I'm a junior standing UCSD student.
I am a fourth year.
So I'm a third year. I'm from Thurgood Marshall College.
And I'm a communication major and a theater minor.
I'm a public health major and psychology minor.
My major is political science, and I'm minoring in ethnic studies and urban studies.
So, what do you think about when I ask you, who are you?
I feel like my environments have affected me a lot. Because I moved around a lot, like very diverse neighborhoods, like low income, like people of color and stuff. And then I just kind of, in the 7th grade, I ended up moving to a predominantly white city. I basically had to become fluid within my identity. So I identify as a Chicana, a woman. I come from a mixed status family, and that affects me a lot. So that I can fit into these spaces, and I had to learn how to essentially be white and just kind of act that out. So that affected me a lot. And then coming into college, I basically had to dismantle that identity and just be more accepting of my Latinidad and my Mexican identity.
First, as a person in Saudi Arabia and having that culture be a part of me, but then when I came here for school, that also expanded to sort of a cosmopolitan person that is multicultural, because now I've absorbed and I've assimilated into more than one culture. And through that process, I became someone who's on the borderline, not really in one country or the other, but kind of an in-between.
When someone says, "Who are you?" you usually say, "I'm Varun." That's not who I am. That's a name that's been given to me and that I've been told my name is Varun. Therefore, I should say I'm Varun. If I sort of back up a little bit, I feel that I'm a musician first and foremost, actually. Me being a musician and a composer has actually lent itself to a discovery or a rediscovery, if you will, of my heritage and my background. I have found a way to connect my musical education, my musical identity, to my identity as an Indian person. What my family was doing before I was alive, right? Because that all has to do with the question, who are you, right? What came before you? What's part of you right now? What are you going to leave?
What comes to mind when I ask you what is home?
So home, that's been a really hard one. Especially with this whole double consciousness thing about being a person of color in a white dominated country. I'm too Indian to be in America, I'm too white to be in India, right? Home for me, it didn't really have any real meaning, I think, until last year probably. The first time I really felt home was when I got used to the UCSD music building. Not a feeling of I'm not different here, it's a feeling of I am different here and that's okay, right?
Home is, I feel like it's more than just a physical place. So it's not just, a place where all my things are, but it's all my memories, my safe place. Also, like culturally, I feel like America is my home, even though I was born in Korea. You know what I mean? So like, no matter where I go, I feel like I would have a home. But I feel like if I go to Korea, it wouldn't be the same. Like even though I am Korean and I was born in Korea.
The things I think about are that I have 2 different homes, you know? So I guess the place that I grew the most would be Canada. That would be my first home. The second home is a physical home where my parents are. And right now they reside in Rancho Cucamonga, so that would be my second home. I guess the third home is where I came from. And I came from Hong Kong, so that would be my third home. But that would never be the home that I feel as comfortable or as close as it is with the first 2. I think Canada was the perfect mix of like Rancho Cucamonga and Hong Kong, because where we live, there's a lot of people who speak Cantonese and English. So I think language definitely plays a big part, because I felt very comfortable there.
I was trying to look for a little article that I found on Facebook where it says that home is where the writer said that she feels like she could make home anywhere she goes, and every time she goes back home, she feels like she's not home. And in a way, that's kind of describes me. I could make home anywhere, basically. I could make home away from home, and that's kind of something I come to appreciate now that I'm in college. The way that I'm connecting with people, I feel like that's not home for me. Is not like just an apartment or a house. Home is like the group of friends that I'm with, and as long as I'm with them, I'm basically, regardless of where I'm at, I can make home just with the presence of their certain group of people that I have. That was a tradition. Like I feel like I'll feel like home is where it's funny because like you can feel some sense of peace and belonging when you connect it back to your tradition. Because I don't know, so seeing I'm from Oaxaca, so when I see like a group of people dancing traditional Oaxacan dance, it just makes me feel like home and sense of belonging, because these are my group of people. And then just because I was born in Mexico, but never really got the chance to grow up there. I came here when I was 3 years old. So like even though like I don't really know the tradition, the custom of Oaxaca, I could still that I'm connected to that culture just from seeing other people practicing it, even though I don't know so much about it. Like I'm learning through them, and that's where, like, regardless of where I go, I just feel a sense of belonging, and there's some like tradition to it. I could go walk down like my neighborhood and I could see so much like Latin American influence in the architecture and like the culture and everything, that I just feel like I belong there. And then when I'm walking down like Barrio Logan, I feel like I belong there too, just with a sense that it's just like I know the culture, I know the history, and I feel welcome.
I feel like it kind of does, because I need some of my culture in what I consider to be home. Like I need like all this art. I need like certain foods. I need like certain like smells to really feel comfortable in a space. I definitely find home through like art. Like I surround myself with like art. Like my dorm is like covered with art, just so I can like feel comfortable within that space. And I do feel like that's like connected to like my identity, because it is more focused on like Latinx art. Because like I find like a certain like beauty in that, to like where I feel like comfortable.
I would say yes, that home is part of what has made me. So how I define home is it's not by like a physical object, but people. So my experiences with like my family is really what creates my identity, and my experiences with like moving around and having to like live in Mexico and having to cross the border, stuff like that, has really like made me who I am today. So like if I would never have experienced my dad being deported, I never would have moved to Texas or to California. I don't think I would have been here. part of that is my family and our experience, and that turning into and making me who I am today.
Well, it depends on the space. It definitely like kind of shifts if there isn't a lot of like Latinx people in the room, and it's like I can sense that. But I feel like for example, if it's like a room of like all like white people or whatever, like I'll feel kind of like uncomfortable. But then because of like my past experience with like being like fluid within like my identity, I can kind of like navigate that space and not necessarily feel comfortable, but like kind of like look comfortable. Would definitely prevent me from like kind of like speaking on like certain issues and stuff, because like I don't know, I would feel like attacked if I spoke about like certain things. We're all like within like the system, like the umbrella of like the system where like all the like minorities are like pinned against each other. So, they don't want us to work together. Like they want us to like be constantly fighting. For example, there's a lot of anti-blackness within like the Latinx community, for example. And I learned that like, we will not be free until like black people are free. Because like with black liberation, like everything like rises, like everybody else gets liberated. Differences like can definitely be the like wedge that drives people apart.
I do sway towards places where people are accepting of others, especially with this year being a election year and having all that kind of stir people's emotions and people's thoughts on, who am I, what do I stand for, and that kind of brought up a lot of, it makes you aware of where you want to be. Like, do you want people who are full of closed-mindedness around you, or do you want people who, make you feel accepted and support you to grow?
I only recently started coming into like and accepting my identity as like a Chicana woman, and like rejecting that part of my identity, even though like I grew up in Mexico, and like even though I've lived on the border for more than like half of my whole life. It wasn't until actually I got here where I experienced, or I started realizing those experiences, and when I try to speak up and I'd be spoken over, and it really left like a discomforting feeling to me because I didn't know really how to handle all of the emotions or really what to do with myself now that I know that there's parts of me that are being silenced. And so what I try to do is speak up more to empower myself and hopefully to empower people around me. That's really my goal, is to like go back to my community and make sure that we know that we have rights, and we know that we're all here for a reason, and that all of our reasons are valid.
When it comes to like spaces that I can enter, I think the thing that really affects it is the fact that I'm an Asian girl, a Chinese girl. So they kind of assume I'm very like nice, very fragile, very submissive, I guess. Noisy. But we do not just let you we do not just take it all in. And I think from these experiences, that all this like racism and even sexism, we don't allow that to happen. But sometimes it's kind of really sad because a lot of times if there's a big group of white males or like just a big group of males talking, as a female it's hard to voice your opinion, because if you voice your opinion they kind of go like, shut up, you don't even make sense, please. And it's just like, the things that you went through shouldn't be dismissed. They're who you are, and even if you hate it, it still becomes part of who you are. Like I was reading this thing from my comm class, and I'm just talking about how someone was Asian girl, Filipino girl, she was gay, and her mom was worried for her. She was like, you're in the States and you're gay, and you're lesbian, and you're Asian female. you have so much more disadvantage than everyone else. And it's just like, why does that have to happen? And I think part of my identity is just understanding why and figuring out if there's anything I can do to fix it. And also understanding that becomes part of who I am. Because I am what I want to be.